one.
On Israel's 70th anniversary, President Trump moves the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. We talk about the left's view of Mother's Day, and America's comedians begin to wake up. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. So it's a magnificent day over in Israel where President Trump was not present, but Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, a bunch of senators, a huge contingent from the United States is over in Jerusalem celebrating the movement of the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. That was something that was supposed to happen circa 1995, but various presidents had put it up. Trump finally does not. We'll talk about all of that, the implications, the riots that are happening on the border of Israel. First, I want to say thanks to our sponsors over at Birch Gold. So right now, the economy is doing really well. Thank God. That's wonderful. And the dollar is very strong, which also is wonderful. But there's always volatility in the market, and this is why you should be hedging some of your bets. I mean, anytime things are going really well, you should at least have some of your money in precious metals, because you just never know when the government starts to inflate the currency or when there's a bit of volatility in the market, and it's good to have that hedge. That's why Birch Gold Group is there. They have a long-standing track record of continued success, thousands of satisfied clients, countless five-star reviews, an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. You can contact Birch Gold Group right now to request a free information kit on physical precious metals. It's a comprehensive 16-page kit revealing how gold and silver can protect your savings, how you can legally move your IRA or 401k out of risky stocks and bonds or into a precious metals IRA. To get that no-cost, no-obligation kit, go to birchgold.com/Ben. That's birchgold.com/Ben. Use that /Ben so they know that we sent you. I have some of my money in precious metals, and I use the folks over at Birch Gold Group for that. Birch Gold Group is the place to go when you're interested in investing in precious metals. Again, the government is in control of the levels of currency in circulation. That's always a little bit dangerous, which is why you should at least put some of your money in precious metals. That's what Birch Gold Group is for. Use that /Ben to let them know that we sent you. Okay, so the big story of the day, obviously, is that President Trump, the Trump administration, they have now moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. They unveiled this giant seal, this beautiful seal. Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, they were both there. They both spoke. Benjamin Netanyahu spoke at this. President Trump did not attend, but he sent a message from abroad. Here's what it looked like when President Trump paid homage to the new embassy in Jerusalem.
Today, we officially opened the United States Embassy in Jerusalem. Congratulations. It's been a long time coming. Israel is a sovereign nation with the right, like every other sovereign nation, to determine its own capital. Yet for many years, we failed to acknowledge the obvious, the plain reality that Israel's capital is Jerusalem. And we extend a hand in friendship to Israel, the Palestinians, and to all of their neighbors. May there be peace. May God bless this embassy. May God bless all who serve there. And may God bless the United States of America.
Okay, Benjamin Netanyahu is the Prime Minister of Israel. He also spoke and was very grateful, obviously, to President Trump for making this move. Again, this had been approved by Congress as early as 1995. So for 23 years, it has been the law of the land in the United States that the embassy was supposed to move to Jerusalem. Clinton chickened out, George W. Bush chickened out, Barack Obama chickened out, Donald Trump did not. And finally, the embassy was, in fact, moved to Jerusalem, which is just a recognition of simple fact. The only reason anyone cares about Jerusalem or has ever cared about Jerusalem is because the Jews cared about Jerusalem first. Here's Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, talking about it.
We have no better friends in the world. You stand for Israel and you stand for Jerusalem. Thank you. What a glorious day. Remember this moment. This is history. President Trump, by recognizing history, you have made history.
And that obviously is true. Look, it's an emotional moment for anyone who is Jewish, honestly, like anyone who cares about Judaism, anyone who's Christian and cares about the New Testament, anybody who cares about the history of Jerusalem. This should be an emotional, historic moment, because the reality is that the fulfillment of Jewish control over Jerusalem was achieved in 1967. The fulfillment of the creation or recreation of a Jewish state in Israel was fulfilled in 1948. But the recognition by the United States that this is the reality puts to bed this idiotic myth that somehow Jerusalem was not Jewish. Okay, there's an old Talmudic story about a bunch of rabbis who, in the aftermath of the destruction of the Second Temple, there are two temples in the history of Judaism. The first temple was destroyed in 587 BCE, and then it was rebuilt just a few decades later. And then the Second Temple was destroyed in 70 and has never been rebuilt. That was destroyed in 70 CE, 70 AD. There's a story from the Talmud about these rabbis who visited the site of the destruction of the temple. All of these are very, very famous rabbis in Jewish law: Rabban Gamliel, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Joshua, and Rabbi Akiva. And there's a story about them going up to Jerusalem right after the destruction of the Second Temple. And they reached Mount Scopus, and they tore their garments. And when they reached the Temple Mount, they saw a fox emerging from the place of the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh Kadoshim, the place where they used to have the Ark of the Covenant. And the other rabbis started weeping, and Rabbi Akiva started laughing. This is from the Talmud. And they said to him, "Why are you laughing?" He said, "Well, why are you weeping?" And they said to him, "Well, a place so holy that it is said to have the stranger that approaches it shall die, and now foxes traverse it. Why shouldn't we weep?" And he said to them, "Here's why I laugh. For it is written, I shall have bear witness for me, faithful witnesses, Uriah the priest and Zechariah the son of Jerobekiah." Now, what is the connection between Uriah and Zechariah? Zechariah. Uriah was at the time of the first temple. Zechariah was at the time of the second temple. But the Torah makes Zechariah's prophecy dependent on Uriah's prophecy. With Uriah, it's written, "Therefore, because of you, Zion shall be plowed as a field." With Zechariah, it is written, "Old men and women shall yet sit in the streets of Jerusalem." As long as Uriah's prophecy has not been fulfilled, I fear that Zechariah's prophecy may not be fulfilled either. But now that Uriah's prophecy has been fulfilled, it is certain that Zechariah's prophecy will be fulfilled. In other words, there's a prophecy the temple would be destroyed. You can't have the prophecy of the temple being rebuilt until the temple has been destroyed. With these words, they replied to him, "Akiva, you have consoled us. Akiva, you have consoled us." One of the most famous stories in all of Talmudic lore. Because the center of Judaism has always been Jerusalem. The center of Judeo-Christian tradition, from where it sprang, has always been Jerusalem. According to the Bible, the first mention of Jerusalem actually comes in Genesis 14:18, when Abraham meets the king of Shalem. And then in Genesis 22:14, Abraham names the site of his near sacrifice of Isaac Yareh, and that those are the same place. You put those together, Yareh and Shalem is Yerushalayim, which means Jerusalem. This is the site of David's Tower. It's the site of Solomon's Temple. It's the city of Hezekiah's water tunnels. If you've never been to Israel, if you've never been to Jerusalem, it's just an amazing experience. You are walking the streets that existed for 1,000 years before Jesus was walking the earth. I mean, it's amazing. These are the streets that Jesus walked if you're a Christian. And for a Jew, these are the streets that were trod by Solomon. Right? It's an unbelievable experience. Think of the oldest thing that you know of in the United States. The oldest thing that you know of in the United States is probably from about 1620. Okay, now go back 2,600 years, okay, and you are talking about the stuff that you're finding in Israel. Jerusalem was the eternal Jewish dream. It is the eternal Jewish dream, the dream of a free nation living in a land promised by God. The same dream as we have in the United States is the dream of Israel. It was the dream of Bar Kokhba, who revolted against the Romans in 132 CE, 60 years after the destruction of the Second Temple, and actually used Roman coinage to mint his own. He took Roman coins. You can buy these online. It's really cool. Okay, he actually took Roman coins and he beat the Roman coins to get rid of the logo on the Roman coins. And then over it, he put the logo of the Jewish temple with the words, "For the freedom of Jerusalem." This is the dream of millions of Jews over thousands of years. Jews pray thrice daily, okay, 3 times a day. We pray for the restoration of Jerusalem. It was the dream of Mordechai Anulovich, who's the leader of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, who wrote at the end of his life, right before his murder by the Nazis, "The dream of my life has risen to become fact. Jewish armed resistance and revenge are facts. I've been a witness to the magnificent, heroic fighting of Jewish men in battle." I helped write the autobiography, the memoirs of a Holocaust survivor. This Holocaust survivor went through Auschwitz. He's actually Elie Wiesel's cousin. He went through Auschwitz, and he went through Theresienstadt. And after the war, he went to Israel. He actually had a visa to the United States. He turned down the visa to the United States to go to Israel. He walked off the boat. They handed him a gun. They sent him to the front lines of Latrun, which was one of the bloodiest battles in Israeli history. And he helped establish the state of Israel, doing behind-the-lines work. Okay, the fact that Israel even exists is a miracle. The fact that Jerusalem is in Israeli hands is a miracle. The fact that Jerusalem is an open city where you can worship as you choose is a miracle. Okay, that's only because the Jews are in charge of Jerusalem. President Trump's decision is not just a spiritually resonant one, it's a wise one politically. Because there was never going to be a deal between Israel and its enemies until we recognize some basic facts on the ground. Israel is not leaving Jerusalem. The Jews are not leaving Jerusalem. They never have. They never will. There's been continuous Jewish presence in Jerusalem literally since the inception of Jerusalem as a Jewish city in the book of Joshua. The notion that there was ever a time when Jews did not live in Jerusalem or when it was important for reasons that were non-Jewish to begin is idiotic. Okay, Islam only built the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount specifically for the same reason that they build mosques on top of other holy sites. They knew it was a Jewish holy site. They built a dome on top of it. Doesn't mean the dome should be destroyed, obviously, but it does mean that to pretend that Islam somehow predated Judaism in this area is historically ignorant and ridiculous. Judaism, obviously, is the foundation stone for Christianity as well. Anyone who loves history, anyone who loves the Judeo-Christian heritage of the West has to understand the importance of recognizing that heritage, and that begins with the word on the stones of Jerusalem. Okay, history exists and truth exists. Okay, when Jews sat and mourned and they said, "If I forget Jerusalem, may I forget my right hand? May my right hand forget its cunning?" Okay, they meant it. They meant it. If you've never been to Jerusalem, honestly, everybody should take a trip to Jerusalem. It's an amazing thing. Okay, Jerusalem has not been forgotten, and it will not be forgotten. The Jews that were nearly wiped off the planet are now in control of the holiest site in Judaism. The tears have indeed turned to laughter. In the Talmud, it says eternity refers to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is eternal. The God who made it is eternal as well. And good for President Trump for recognizing a basic human truth. Good for President Trump for recognizing the fact that the Jews belong in Jerusalem and Jerusalem belongs to the Jews. To pretend anything else is historically ignorant. Now, the press are historically ignorant. Not only are they historically ignorant, it's hard not to call the press anti-Semitic in the way that they cover these stories. So at the same time, they're initiating the movement of the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Hamas has initiated all of these riots, all of this violence on the border of Gaza. Now, Gaza is in complete control of Hamas. Okay, Gaza is run by Palestinians. It is not run by the Israelis. Israel has nothing to say except for border control about what happens in the Gaza Strip. It is a hellhole. It is a hellhole because Hamas is a terrorist group that cares a lot more about murdering Jews than it does about making the lives of its own citizens better. If anyone wanted peace in the Palestinian Authority or Hamas, it would happen immediately. If they just said, listen, we are now done with all the violence. We're finished. Now we want to build up our society. Let's open it up. Everything would be open tomorrow. That's not what's happening. If you've seen the headlines today, a lot of the headlines from the press are all about 41 Palestinians killed in clashes with Israel. Okay, Israel is not clashing with the Palestinians. What is happening is that Hamas is delegating. They are sending a bunch of terrorists to the border in an attempt to breach the border. It's pretty amazing. I'll show the proof of it to you in just 1 second, and I'll talk about some of the media coverage, which is just egregious of the embassy move. It's astonishing how bad the media coverage is, and demonstrates where their heads are at. But first, I want to say thanks to our sponsors over at Texture. So, if you're listening to this podcast, you are addicted to information. I am addicted to information. That's why I talk so fast, because I'm trying to get you the most information in the shortest possible time. But when you are not listening, you need to actually be reading. And the way that you do that is you go to Texture. So Texture is the only app that offers unlimited access to over 200 top magazines, including People, The Atlantic, Time, Vanity Fair, New Yorker. You're talking about the best reporting, the best long-form reporting in the country, and you have access to all of it through Texture. Ronan Farrow is breaking stories on a daily basis over at The New Yorker. Instead of you having to pay for an issue of The New Yorker every month, instead you can get all their back issues and you can get access to their new issues with Texture. Okay, this is true for The Atlantic and Time and Vanity Fair. With Texture, you get unlimited access to those 200 top magazines and their back issues in a single app. Anytime you want to explore one, you can. And if you sign up right now at texture.com/Ben, you get a 7-day free trial. So texture.com/Ben, try it free for 7 days, see if you like it. I promise you will. To start that free trial, again, go to texture.com/Ben to start reading the latest issues of your favorite magazines today. And the list is really long, so you should go over to Texture and check it out, because it really is everything from your favorite sports magazines, your favorite workout magazines, all of it is there. Texture.com/Ben. Use that /Ben so they know that we sent you and get that 7-day free trial. Okay, so now, on to the media coverage about the situation in Jerusalem. So quickly, before I talk about the media coverage in Jerusalem, there's a headline from the New York Times. The New York Times is egregiously anti-Israel. They've been egregiously anti-Israel as long as I have been alive, and probably longer. And there's an amazing headline. It says, from David Halbfinger. Okay, and he writes, Israel feels pride but senses peril as U.S. moves embassy. And they're talking about how it's really dangerous time for Israel, and people are really nervous about Israel. Okay, here's what it actually looks like in Israel. Okay, I need to show you this tape of what it looks like in Israel right now on Machane Yehuda. This is clip 9. Yeah, clearly people there are very torn about the situation in Israel on the 70th anniversary of its independence. Literally thousands of people cheering in the streets of Machane Yehuda. Machane Yehuda is the biggest marketplace in Jerusalem. It's this street that is completely filled. And look, that is so typical of Israel, right? You see Orthodox Jews, and then if you see in the background there, you see an Israeli flag mixed with a gay flag. Okay, Israel is a pretty diverse place, pretty amazing, diverse place. If you haven't visited, you really should. I keep saying that, but it really is true. I was married there. My wife is Israeli. Her family is Israeli. Last time we were there, actually, is about 10 years ago. Well, we're going to have to do a trip, I think. I think we're going to have to take a trip to Israel and bring some of my listeners along, because I think that would be just a blast. But the coverage of the situation in the Gaza Strip is totally incredible and totally biased against Israel. So here is the headline from the Washington Post. Okay, a headline from the Washington Post. Israelis killed dozens of Palestinians in Gaza protesting U.S. embassy move to Jerusalem. Well, if you just read that headline, you might assume that Israelis are killing protesters about the U.S. embassy, that people are just protesting in the streets, they're a little upset, and Israel's going out there and slaughtering them en masse. That is not what is happening. What is happening is Hamas has sent 40,000 people to the border with Israel. They're attempting to walk across the border. They're sending kites that are on fire across the border in an attempt to start brush fires in Israel. They're throwing Molotov cocktails at soldiers. They're throwing rocks at soldiers. They're hiding behind women and children to do so because this is what Hamas does, because they're a terrorist group. So that Washington Post story is headlined, Israelis kill dozens of Palestinians in Gaza protesting U.S. embassy move to Jerusalem. This is in the article itself. While some said they would abide by official calls to keep the demonstrations peaceful, others talked about their enthusiasm to break into Israel and wreak havoc. We are excited to storm and get inside, said 23-year-old Mohammed Mansoura. When asked what he would do inside Israel, he said, whatever is possible, to kill, throw stones. Does that sound a lot like a bunch of peaceful protesters at the border? No, it doesn't. Because they aren't a bunch of peaceful protesters at the border. It's a bunch of people trying to invade wholesale locations along the fence, is creating our sick, really from the embassy, and to provide exactly the sort of media coverage you saw all day today with the split screens of Israelis celebrating and Palestinians suffering. Oh, it's so rough for the Palestinians. It is rough for the Palestinians because they keep electing terrorist groups. When you keep electing the Palestinian Authority and Islamic Jihad and Hamas to positions of power, it turns out you're going to live in a hellhole. When you keep allowing your government to delegate terrorists to the border, it turns out that the people on the other side of that border may not be too happy with you. But again, the way the media cover this as though it is totally Israel's fault. Another element of this. Okay, so there was a lot of talk yesterday about clashes on the Temple Mount on Jerusalem Day. So Jerusalem Day is the day when Israel liberated Jerusalem from the rule of the Jordanians. It was, in fact, a liberation. It was a liberation because suddenly all of these sites were open to Jews and Christians and Muslims alike. Okay, the Temple Mount, however, it was handed over to the control of the Islamic Waqf. So that evil, horrible Israeli government, the Islamophobic Israeli government, handed over control of the holiest site in the history of Judaism to the Muslims. Okay, it is not Jews who are in control of the day-to-day on top of the on top of the Temple Mount. Instead, they handed it over to the control of the Islamic Waqf, which prevents Jews like me from going up on the Temple Mount and praying. I'm literally barred. If I were to go to Israel tomorrow, and if I were to walk up on the Temple Mount, I am barred from praying. If I took out a sitter, I can do it anywhere else in the world, literally anywhere else on the planet, except for Islamic countries, which would punish me for being Jewish. Anywhere in America, I could pull out a psalm book. Okay, that's what a Tehillim book is. And I would just pull it out and start praying. If I did that on the Temple Mount, I will be arrested. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. Okay, according to eyewitnesses, this is Ynet, Jews entered the holy site and they were singing. The Arabs were calling out Allahu Akbar. Police forces that arrived at the scene had to separate the warring sides and remove the Jews from the Temple Mount. I'm sorry, it's not a warring side for Jews to go up in the holiest site in Judaism and say thank you to God. But this is illegal in Israel. Okay, the Jerusalem police said several Jewish visitors broke the rules of conduct and created provocation. Okay, this is how sensitive Israel is to the concerns of the Islamic population living in Israel. They're so sensitive to those concerns that Jews are not allowed to pray on the Temple Mount for fear of provoking Muslims. Okay, this is actual honestly, if this were done in Saudi Arabia, you'd call it anti-Semitic policy. The idea that Jews are not allowed to pray on a historically Jewish surface because it might tick off Muslims. But this has been the record of Muslims in the region, radical Muslims in the region, for quite a long time. This is why when everyone tries to draw moral equivalence between what Israel is doing in Jerusalem and what Israel is doing in Israel and what Hamas is doing in the Gaza Strip or what the Palestinian Authority are doing or what even the Islamic Waqf is doing, it's just insane. It's just insane and ridiculous. But again, none of this is designed to be objective media coverage. All of it is designed to pretend that Israel is the aggressor in a conflict in which Israel is clearly not the aggressor. Israel is clearly not the aggressor in this conflict. It never was the aggressor. Israel accepted the deal in 1947 from the UN. It was attacked by Arab states. Israel in 1956 was blockaded from the Suez Canal, and they won that war too. In 1967, there was a preemptive attack that was launched by Israel as all of its borders were about to be attacked by Islamic countries. In 1973, there was an attack on Yom Kippur, the most holy day in Judaism, and it came very near to wiping out the state of Israel. In 1982, Lebanon was using Hezbollah in order to strike at Israel. Israel has constantly been in defensive war since its inception, and the media keep covering it as though Israel is the aggressor, in the same way they cover America as though America is the aggressor, which shows that the leftism of the American media and the international media expands to its hatred for the state of Israel. They hate the state of Israel because Israel is an outpost of the West. They don't hate the West because the West backs Israel. Okay. Meanwhile, yesterday was Mother's Day, to switch topics, and I couldn't help myself. One of the things that I find absolutely just appalling and astonishing on a regular basis is the amazing, amazing silliness of the left when it comes to sacred times in our national calendar. I'm going to explain that in just a second. First, I want to say thanks to our sponsors over at Keep. So, you're probably losing your hair. Okay, dudes, you're probably losing your hair. Chances are you are. You're probably not paying attention to it, even if you're young. But if you look at your dad, if your dad has lost his hair, you're probably going to lose your hair as well. So, that is why it is necessary for you to talk to my friends over at Keeps. Okay, there is a real solution to hair loss, but you have to do it now. You can't wait until all the hair falls out and then you say you're going to get some Miracle Grow and sprinkle it on your head. That ain't going to work. There are 2 clinically proven medications that let you keep your hair, and now they are inexpensive and easy to get. You don't need to lose your hair if you don't want to, which is why Keeps exists. For 5 minutes now and just $1 a day, you'll never have to worry about hair loss again. Getting started with Keeps is really easy. So you sign up, and it takes less than 5 minutes. Just answer a few questions, snap some photos. I've done this. A licensed doctor remotely reviews your information, recommends the right treatment for you, all without ever leaving your couch. They offer generic versions over at Keeps of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there. You've probably tried them before. You've never got them this easy for this price. Keeps is only $10 to $35 a month, and now you can get your first month for free. That's a pretty great deal for getting to keep your hair longer. So go over to keeps.com/Ben. You get your first month of treatment for free. Keeps.com/Ben, KEEPS.com/Ben. Again, these are the same medications your doctor would be prescribing, except now you can do it from the comfort of your own home, and it's a lot cheaper. Go to keeps.com/Ben. That's KEEPS.com/Ben. Use that /Ben to keep your hair. Okay, so I have some great news that I'm excited to share with you right now, okay? This is news that I'm breaking right now. We are finally taking the Ben Shapiro Show in front of a live audience, which is just awesome. Are you excited? Are you excited? You should be, because it's going to be awesome. This August, I'm going to be doing my podcast live in Dallas and Phoenix, and you will be able to see me in person and join me in an audience Q&A. And we'll be also doing a special VIP event beforehand with a signing and a meet and greet for 200 superfans. So I can't wait to see you. Visit dailywire.com/events for more information. Here's the best part. If you're a premium subscriber, you can get tickets pre-sale starting tomorrow morning, Tuesday, May 15th, 10 a.m. in every time zone. So check it out, Tuesday, May 15th, 10 a.m. in every time zone. If you're a subscriber, you can be the first person to buy a VIP ticket, a regular ticket. If you aren't a subscriber, well, then you should subscribe, people. And you should get a beautiful Leftist Tears tumbler and get early access to tickets, but you have to hurry because this is only going to last until 10 p.m. on Thursday, May 17th. Once again, visit dailywire.com/events to get your pre-sale tickets and additional info. Okay, so go check that out. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see you out there. Become a subscriber, okay? It's really totally worth it. This is just one reason why you should do it. Okay, so meanwhile, yesterday was Mother's Day. And Mother's Day is always a weird time if you're on the left. I have to imagine it's kind of a weird time if you're on the left, because the left likes to proclaim that they love Mother's Day. Oh, I'm going to go out for mimosas with Mom for brunch for Mother's Day. Okay, here's one of the things that's weird about leftist patterns of thought. So a lot of folks on the left, they like to proclaim that certain things in America are sacrosanct. Parenthood, children, apple pie, mothers. But then when it comes to their actual ideology, they're kind of anti a lot of those things. So when it comes to mothers, for example, mothers are seen as stooges of the patriarchy by a lot of radical feminists. If you are a woman and you choose to stay home and mother your children, this makes you a bad person. You are a lesser person. You've been sucked into the maw of the patriarchy that has chewed you up and spit you out and suggested that you must indeed be a woman barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen rather than running companies, rather than having a job. Okay, if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a bad person, according to a lot of folks on the left. But then when it comes Mother's Day, like, oh, Mother's Day, I love Mother's Day. You can't have it both ways. If you think mothers are rubes, then you can't celebrate Mother's Day. Plus, you got a bunch of folks on the left, I would say the majority of the left now, that suggests that a child doesn't need a mother. Now, I believe a child does need a mother. A child needs a mother and a father. And this is why I always tweet out on Mother's Day, happy legal guardian of unspecified gender day. Because if you are on the left, this is what you believe. You believe that you can have a legal guardian of any gender whatsoever. You can have a mother who's a father who's a mother who used to be a father who used to be a mother who used to be a chicken. Any of these things are possible. So why not just call it legal guardian of unspecified gender day? But no, then the left gets mad when you say this because it shows that they're really not super pro-mom as a general rule. You know, the whole we're in favor of abortion and we think that women are stupid if they stay home with their kids. And also a child doesn't need a mother. A child brought up by wolves or any other family arrangement is totally fine. Mowgli had it best. You know, all of this. And then they say we love Mother's Day. Okay, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that you hold certain things sacrosanct when you clearly do not hold them sacrosanct. Yeah, the same thing is true of the innocence of children. The same people who will say you have to protect innocent children from video games. You have to protect innocent children from the predations of their church-going parents. These are the same people who say that a 4-year-old should be seeing a psychiatrist to get hormone treatment to prevent puberty. And these are the same folks. Okay, so anyway, I tweeted some of this stuff out yesterday, and a lot of people on the left got very, very mad. Okay, a lot of people said, how could I just ruin Mother's Day by pointing out that a lot of folks on the left don't really have a reason to celebrate Mother's Day. Okay, and then I did something even worse yesterday. I did something even worse on Mother's Day. So I asked this is actually a funny story. So yesterday morning, I woke up, and my daughter woke me up. I went in there to her room, gave her a big hug, and she said, what day is it today? I said, well, it's Sunday, and it's Mother's Day. We're going to do some special stuff for Mommy. Isn't that fun? And she said, yeah. And then I said, sweetheart, when you grow up, you're going to have a job, and you're also going to be a mommy. Which one of those things do you think is probably going to be more fun? And she said, being a mommy, so I can cuddle my babies, which is really cute, right? Clearly, she is a victim of the patriarchy, because if she knew best, she would know that working a long 2,200 billable hours a year job as an associate at a law firm is significantly more fun than cuddling babies. Clearly, she would know this. By the way, I would assume that if I ask my son this when he's old enough not to be pooping in his diapers, if I ask him this, I assume he'll give me the same answer, because being a dad is super fun. We need more parents, male and female, who are interested in raising their children rather than making their career first priority. That would be great. You know, my career is very, very important to me. I think that every day I get up and I'm eager to go to work, but I'm even more eager to spend time with my kids. I probably spend more time with my kids at this point than my wife does because she's in medical residency. As I may have mentioned once or twice, she's a doctor. So anyway, I tweeted this out. I asked my 4-year-old this morning whether she thought it'd be more fun to have a job or be a mommy. She said, to be a mommy so I can cuddle my babies. Clearly, she has already been victimized by the patriarchy. And I said I would begin teaching her in order to countermand the demands of the patriarchy. I'd begin teaching her that babies are made out of thorns and hatred and that she can work as an executive at Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And that will somehow make it all better. A bunch of people on the left got really mad. Number one, they misinterpreted the tweet to assume that what I was saying is that she could either have a job or be a mommy. Which, yes, that's me all over. Right. I'm the guy who says women can't have jobs. Except for how my mom worked and my dad stayed at home, and my wife works and I stay at home. Except for all of that, you got me spot on. Spot on. I'm the guy who forces my wife to be a doctor. Yes. Clearly, you've pegged me correctly, leftists. And people on the left got very angry, though, because if you point out a very simple truth, hey, that little girls want to be mommies, they get so mad. They get so angry. If you say little girls naturally want to be mommies and have babies of their own, no. That is a gender construct. That is something that you had to teach them. Never mind, hundreds of thousands of years of human biology, never mind all of animal kingdom biology, never mind any of that stuff. It was clearly that 5 guys got in a room several thousand years ago and they said, we have to convince women it's good to have babies. We have to convince them of this. Now, we should also never mind all the fact that all these feminist women hit the age of 40 and they start freezing their eggs because they're afraid they're not going to be able to have kids. We should ignore the fact that a lot of women turn around at age 35 after having been told that they could have everything, the career and the children, and think, man, I wish that I had spent a little more time at home. We should ignore all of those things. Instead, we should pretend that all of this is a construct that is unnatural for women to want babies. Girls want babies. Little girls want to have babies. Okay, when my daughter plays games, she was doing it last night. There's a giant Barney that we have at our house, a giant Barney doll that we have at our house. My daughter made a bed for her giant Barney, and then she said, my giant Barney is sick, and I want to take care of my giant Barney because he is my baby. My son takes a bat and hits the giant Barney. Okay, they are different children because boys are not the same as girls. Okay, this is so stupid. But if you acknowledge this, then it's somehow bad. But here's the problem. If you don't acknowledge this, then why are you celebrating Mother's Day? Okay, if you're not pretending that it's innate to women to want to be mothers, if you're not suggesting that women have something special to offer in the realm of parenthood, then why are we celebrating Mother's Day in the first place? I love it. So Elizabeth Spires, who's a feminist idiot, she tweeted out, the fact that you framed it to her as an either or is the problem, Ben. And I tweeted back, well, I didn't frame it as an either or. I said, which one is more fun? Okay, if I said, when you grow up, which do you think will be more fun? Going to a baseball game or going to work? I'm not suggesting that you can only go to baseball games and never go to work. I'm suggesting that there is a hierarchy of fun. And it actually is an important question. So here's the punchline. So it's really funny. I told my wife about this yesterday. We're in the car, and we're driving to Disneyland with the kids, and I turned to my wife, and I told her this story. And she says, oh, that's really funny, because you know what? I asked our daughter the same question last night. I asked her, did you know, this is my wife, again, the doctor, who turned to my daughter last night, and she said, okay, this is a close paraphrase, and she said, you know, mommy loves being a doctor, but mommy loves being your mommy even more than that, a lot more than that. If mommy wants to spend more time with you, okay? Is she part of the patriarchy now, my wife? This is so stupid. Okay, all of this is so dumb. But the same left that wants to obliterate gender differences and then celebrate gender differences, you can't do both. Obliterate them or celebrate them. You can't obliterate them and then celebrate them. You can't pretend men and women are exactly the same, with exactly the same aspirations, hopes, and dreams, and then say that women are unique creatures who deserve special days like Mother's Day. All of this is just, And I love this. So dictionary.com actually tweeted out at me, fallacy. Any of the various types of erroneous reasoning that render arguments logically unsound. Thank you, dictionary.com. I'm so glad that you defined fallacy for me. Intern at dictionary.com, whose life's work is to tweet out definitions written by others hundreds of years ago, you dolt. Okay, I did not say that my daughter should not get a job. I've told her, by the way, that she could be president of the United States. And you know what she responded? She said, that sounds really boring. Can't argue with that. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about this whole McCain apology thing in just a second. First, you're going to have to go over to dailywire.com and subscribe. So at dailywire.com, you get the rest of this show live. And again, when you're a subscriber, you get tickets, right? You're going to get your chance to get tickets. Tomorrow, we are having our first live podcasts. Okay, it's going to be so much fun. We're going to do our live podcast. Phoenix, Dallas, you can be there. Thousands of people who think like you or who don't think like you can ask questions. It'll be great. You get to go backstage, but you can only buy your tickets early if you're a subscriber. So for $9.99 a month, get a subscription, get the annual subscription, and you get this as well, the Leftist Tears Hot or Cold Tumbler. And that also allows you to ask questions in our mailbag on Fridays. Plus, it also allows you to ask questions to Michael Knowles. So tomorrow, Tuesday, May 15th, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific, it is time for our next episode of The Conversation. Our own Michael Knowles, the execrable, he is going to be answering all of your questions. I don't know what sort of answers he can give you beyond weird stories about the stuff he did in his spare time at Yale, but if you like that sort of thing, then Michael Knowles can answer your questions tomorrow. Alicia Krause will be there to keep Knowles in line, ensure that he keeps his shirt on, which is the task of half the office these days. This month's episode will stream live on Daily Wire's YouTube and Facebook pages. It's free for everyone to watch. Only subscribers can ask the questions, so go check it out. To ask questions as a subscriber, you go over to dailywire.com, and then you log in, and then you go over to The Conversation and watch it, and then you can just start typing questions in, and Michael will answer your questions as they come in for an entire hour. So subscribe to get those questions answered. Also, subscribe right now because tomorrow the tickets go on sale. They're going to sell out. We know they will. So just go there and get your subscription. It ain't that expensive to get a subscription to the Daily Wire, and you get those special tickets early. You get them a lot earlier than everybody else. So go check it out right now. Also, that helps us bring you the show. It helps us make sure we're bringing you great content. And yesterday, if you haven't listened to it, we brought out our Sunday special with Dave Rubin. Our first episode was Jordan Peterson. Our second episode was Dave Rubin. And next week, we have a special guest who is just as awesome. We have a special guest every week who is just as interesting and just as awesome. Also, please go over to Apple News and check out Daily Wire over at Apple News as well. We're the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast in the nation.